Listen, you should never give a bookworm discretionary funds because they will spend it impulse book shopping. Hello beautiful, my name's Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads, and today we're going to be doing an absolutely massive book haul. I have purchased so many books in the last several months, it's not even funny. So I have a 50+ book haul to bring to you guys today, but don't worry about it. I am still a baddie on a budget, and a lot of these books have been thrifted or gifted to me by publishers, so shout out to them. But we're just gonna go through all of these books because I feel like it'll be a good way for us to tap back in, because I haven't made videos in so long. And let me know in the comments below what you've been reading these days. I would love to hear all about it. Before we get fully into the book haul, I just want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Ana Luisa, because if you're like me and you're a baddie on a budget, Ana Luisa is the place to shop, and they are currently having one of their biggest sales of the year, their Black Friday sale, so you can check them out at the link in my description. But if you're unfamiliar, Ana Luisa is an amazing sustainable jewelry company, and I have been wearing and loving their jewelry for over 4 years now. I just absolutely adore them. They just have the most beautiful, like, trendy designs, and especially if you're like a gold jewelry kind of girly, they have so many amazing gold jewelry designs that just are always gonna do it for me every single time. So I ended up getting 2 new pairs of earrings from them. I'm gonna get close. I'm gonna show you guys what I got. I got this gorgeous pair of hoops. These are the Cuidado hoops. And then I also got this really gorgeous pair of earrings. These are the mini Kanoko earrings, and these are actually a smaller version of one of my favorite pair of earrings from Ana Luisa, which are the Kanoko marble blue earrings. So I wanted to get this design, but in a smaller, more understated package. So I absolutely adore these. They're just so cute. The gold tops and the marble blue white bottoms, like, so adorable. So I absolutely love Ana Luisa's jewelry. This is also an Ana Luisa piece. This is the Ina gold chain. I just adore them. I can't say enough good things about them, and I think that if you're in the market for some new jewelry that is long-lasting, tarnish-free, they also have a 2-year worry-free warranty. They have fast and free shipping in the US. If you're not in the US, they do have fast and very affordable shipping. I think that their jewelry is gorgeous, and it is just an amazing price for the quality that you get. I've been wearing their jewelry for over 4 years, and all of the pieces that I've had from them, I've experienced no tarnishing. I haven't had any pieces break on me. I haven't had any clasps break off on me or anything like that, which is problems that I have had with other jewelry companies in the past. So I just can't say enough good things about Ana Luisa. And now that it's the holiday season, this is the perfect time to shop with them. They have a huge Black Friday sale going on, so you can check them out at the link in my description below. And if you're shopping for yourself or you're shopping for a baddie in your life, they are the way to go. I love supporting a brand that's ecologically conscious and that creates amazing, stunning, beautiful designs. So thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. Do be sure to check them out in the link in my description below. I think the best way to talk about all of these books, since there's so many, is maybe to break things up into genre. So we're going to talk about romance first because, you know, I'm a romance girly, but funnily enough, the romance stack is actually the smallest one of the day. So I'm just going to share what I got. Alright, so first up, I have this beautiful paperback copy of Just for the Cameras by Vienna Oniyomo. If you watched my Sexiest Books of 2023 video, you will know that this was the sexiest book I read last year. I absolutely adored this. It was a really fun Black poly romance about these roommates who end up falling in love with each other. Very, very high heat, very steamy. I loved it so much. I didn't, however, love the cover that much. The cover was a little bit but this new cover redesign is very cute to me, so I had to get myself a physical copy because I love this so much, and I'm excited to reread it. It's such a good read, but very, very spicy. You are forewarned. Then I had to pick up Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Everyone really loved this one over the summer, obviously. And while it is, you know, it's a cold, rainy fall here in Philadelphia right now, I still think that I enjoy reading about the summer vibes when it's getting cold and all I want is summer to return to me. So I am excited to get into this one soon. Okay, so then we have Between Friends and Lovers by Charlene Obiobi. I don't know if I'm saying that last name right, I'm sorry. But this is a book about a very accomplished, like, doctor slash social media darling, and she has like a lot of popular social media accounts, and she kind of is harboring this like decades long crush on her best friend Ezra, and I believe this involves her Ezra and Malcolm getting involved in some kind of like love triangle thing. Usually love triangles aren't my thing, but I want to give this book a shot. This is another book that I've heard nothing but good things about. I hope I'm gonna love it. And anytime I see a book with a black woman on the cover, I have to buy it. It's just how those things work. Speaking of which, I got the 710 Split by Carmen Lee. It's about these two teachers, Ava and Grace. They're in like some kind of rivalry. They are both teachers at this school, and this is about them like being the, what do they call it? Like the sponsor of the bowling team, but they're rivals and they have to work together, and they have some kind of history with each other as well, so this is a bit of a second chance romance. I have been loving Abbott Elementary lately. Really loving Abbott Elementary. So I don't know, anytime I see like a teacher romance, it makes me think about Abbott Elementary, so I had to pick it up. And there's black women on the cover, and as I said, always have to pick up a book that has a black woman on the cover. And going along with that theme, I got A Little Kissing Between Friends by Chensia C. Higgins. This is actually my current read, and this is another sapphic romance. This is a friends to lovers romance about this very popular, acclaimed producer named Sin the Star. Her name's Cindy, and another character named Juicy, who works as an exotic dancer in a strip club. They're very close. They've been friends for years, and recently there's some tension in their relationship, and they are exploring that tension, and they're wondering if by exploring that tension they're ruining their friendship, and if it's worth it to ruin the friendship to explore the romantic and sexual sides of their connection with each other. This book is messy. This book is messy boots. If you love like really messy, really dramatic, heavy miscommunication type romance, you should check this out. It's also incredibly sexy, like incredibly sexy, but these characters are so messy, like it's actually ridiculous. The drama in here is like, girl, it's giving soap opera down, but it's fun. So if you're looking for a sapphic romance to read, I'd say check this one out. The last adult romance I have to share with you is The Prospects by K.T. Hoffman. This is a sports romance. It's about like this minor league baseball player, and also he's trans, and this is about like him and his team, you know, trying to make it. Yeah, so this is one of those like inspirational sports story type things, plus it involves a cute romance. I've heard really good things about this from my friends on Goodreads, so I'm excited to give it a shot. But yeah, I love like sports romances. I love watching sports movies and seeing the underdog like win the big game. But do I actually like sports? No, not in the slightest. So it's something very interesting about the fact that I love sports romances. I don't know. What's the science behind it? I couldn't tell you, but I am excited to read this. So that was my last adult romance, but I do have a young adult romance to haul, and that is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. I love Casey McQuiston. Casey McQuiston wrote my favorite romance of the year. The pairing is so incredibly phenomenal. It's not even funny. That book is like I can't describe to you how perfect that book was for me. I loved it so much. I've read all of Casey McQuiston's books thus far, and I just love them. They're the author for me. I haven't read this one yet because it is YA, and that's not my typical thing, but I'm willing to give it a shot. You know, I think it'll be a cute little sapphic YA moment, so I'm willing to give it a chance. And yeah, so I ended up picking this up at the thrift store just yesterday, actually. I was very lucky to find it. It's in perfect condition, and I got it for less than $1. We love that for me. I got a physical copy of Icarus by Kate Ancrum. This is the best book I've read in 2024. This, along with the pairing. I love Icarus so much. This book just completely wowed me in every possible way. I ended up getting a copy of this from Kate Ancrum's website so that I could get it signed. So yeah, I absolutely adored this book though. I just think that Kate Ancrum's writing is so gorgeous. So I highly recommend checking this out if you have not already. And I'm very happy to own a signed copy of one of my favorite books of all time now. So now that we got the romance out the way, I want to breeze through my recently started classics collection. Longtime members of the Mina Reads community will note that I was an English major. I graduated almost a year ago now. Time really flies, that's crazy. And since graduating, I haven't really read any classics. And I want to say that while I was doing my major, one of the things that I really cherished about my English program at my college, Temple University, is the fact that it really focused quite heavily and rewardingly for me on diversifying the canon. So we actually spent a lot of time reading like modern and contemporary works of fiction by Black and brown authors and spending a lot of time focusing in on that. So while there were some classes like and requirements that, you know, enforced like the typical white heteronormative canon, there was also an emphasis on diverse classics, on LGBTQ writers, on authors of color and things of that nature. So because of that, there are a lot of classic books that I actually haven't read and that weren't covered in my college career. And so I'm slowly but surely wanting to get back into reading classics. So I'm making a collection of some classics for me to read. So every time I go to my thrift store or if I pass a little free library, I'll always look in and see if they have any classics that I haven't read yet that I would like to. So I have a little stack here that I'm going to share with you. Okay, so some of these I actually have read already, but I wanted to add them to my collection, and others are all new to me. So first I have this little adorable Signet Classic edition of Anton Chekhov's major plays. I'm very excited to read this. I did read one of his plays before. I read Uncle Vanya, but obviously I haven't read them all, and I love plays. I definitely did not get a chance to read enough of them when I was in like high school or college, but they were always my favorite thing to study, so I'm excited to read these. Then I have Beowulf, obviously a medieval classic. I read some of this when I was in high school, but I was, you know, slacking, so I never actually finished it, but I do want to give it another shot. So I have Beowulf. Then I got this really pretty Penguin Classic edition of Frankenstein, and I already have a copy of Frankenstein, but I actually got this one because I really wanted, very silly of me, but I wanted this particular cover, and I found it at my local thrift. Right, so then we have two Shakespeare plays, Antony and Cleopatra, and then Titus Andronicus. I have not read Titus Andronicus. I have read Antony and Cleopatra. This is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. Like, this and Romeo and Juliet are my favorites, but I just adore this one so much. The Pelican Shakespeare editions is very cute. I like it. And then I got this copy of Titus Andronicus. Anybody who has ever studied Shakespeare is probably familiar with these Folger Shakespeare Classic editions. It comes with a lot of like notes and glossaries and things like that that make it easier to read the play. So I appreciate getting this one, especially since Titus Andronicus is one Shakespeare play that I'm very unfamiliar with. So I appreciated grabbing this one. Shout out to my local thrift store. They have everything. More plays. I got A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. I read some of this one in high school, but I feel like I don't remember why I didn't finish it. Or if I did finish it, I just don't remember the ending of the play, so I want to reread it. I also got Medea by Euripides. I really love Euripides. Euripides, the Bacchae, is like one of my favorite plays of all time. So good. So yeah, enjoyed. And then I also got the Oedipus cycle by Sophocles, which includes Oedipus Rex, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. Antigone is amazing. I have read that, but I haven't read Oedipus Rex or Oedipus at Colonus, so I'm excited to check out both. I got the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This is one of my favorite works of modern fiction. I adore this book. It's so good, but I did want to reread it. I read it in college in one of my modern fiction classes, but I just wanted to own a copy and be able to reread it and annotate it without like the input of my teacher and his interpretations of the work. So yeah, I ended up picking myself up a copy at my local thrift, and this edition, this is the Norton Critical edition, and it includes a lot of like literary criticism about the Metamorphosis, which I'm also excited to read. As you guys can tell, I'm very much a nerd. I'm very much a nerd, and I'm deeply missing academia, and I'm trying very hard not to apply for a master's at the moment. So this is me creating my own curriculum to read so that I don't get myself into more student loan debt trying to get a master's. So yeah, that's what this is. That's what this is. Then I got myself a copy of Mice and Men. This is actually a little bit silly, but my little sister, she's in high school. She just recently started high school. I'm so proud of her. And she was studying Of Mice and Men, and this is a book that I also studied when I was in high school, when I was a sophomore. And so I saw this at like a little free library when I was on my daily walk, and I just decided to pick it up so that I could help her with her papers. She was writing some papers about it, and so I wanted to reread it so I could help her. And yeah, so it was a nice like bonding experience being able to help her write her papers and, you know, decoding the text and all that good stuff. It was fun. So that's why I got this, even though I have already read and enjoyed this one. And the final book that I got is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, because we're in we're in some scary times, and I have always avoided reading this book because I feel like something about reading it just means that like it's going to come to fruition, all of the terrible things that it involves. And obviously many of the things that it discusses are things that have already happened to women, particularly marginalized women throughout history, but there's just something about this particular narrative and this particular type of authoritarianism and fascism that like really deeply terrifies me. But I feel like it's time to face my fears and just read this book just because, you know. So we got that one. That was pretty deep, so I'm gonna bring us somewhere a little bit lighter. I have a few comics and mangas to talk to you guys about. So I ended up getting this copy of Monstrous Volume 1. This is a comic that people have talked about on BookTube for at least 7 years, and I finally decided to just pick it up when I was shopping in Barnes & Noble one day because the cover truly is stunning in person and the artwork inside is just gorgeous. It's a full color comic, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick it up and give it a shot. So hopefully it'll be a good one. I also got this book, which is very scandalous, and this one is called Safe Sex Volume 1, and this one is essentially about a like near future sci-fi dystopia where the government is very involved in people's bedrooms, and they're very involved in sanitizing people's lives and ensuring that they're not engaging in any depraved activity in the bedroom. And so in many ways it's kind of like created a society that fully demonizes sex, which we are getting very close to, and it's sort of about this like government encroachment into bedrooms and things of that nature, but in a more sci-fi type of setting. And yeah, it's very crude, it's very explicit, but also quite interesting. I started reading this yesterday, but I'm not done yet. But yeah, I picked this up also on a trip to Barnes because why not? It seemed interesting. Then I got Fangs Volume 3. Fangs is a really fun queer vampire romance manga that I started reading like 2 years ago. It takes forever for new volumes of this manga to come out. I was waiting over a year for Volume 3 of this manga to get translated. Like, that was terrible. That was absolutely awful. There has to be some way to streamline the process so that it doesn't take a full year for the manga to get translated. Like, can we please do something about that? It's just ridiculous. But anyway, Volume 3 is finally in my hands, which is a big deal because Volume 2 ends on a really insane cliffhanger. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. So if you like vampires and you also like sexy fun times, you should read this. It's a good time, but it is for adults only. And then I got Semantic Error. This is a webtoon. I also feel like it has a show, like a live action show, but this is a webtoon that I started reading like years ago, and I was really enjoying it, and I was very lucky to be sent a copy of Volume 1. So yeah, I'm excited to give it a shot. It has been a long time since I read the webtoon, like actually in the webtoon app, so I'm excited to read this. So now I have a positively ginormous stack of fantasy books that I don't even think I could actually like fully lift it up. I don't know if I'm strong enough for that. I could try. For our amusement, I could try it. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, like, are you seeing the bottom of the stack? And now the stack goes all the way up here. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's talk about them. So, to start us off with our fantasy stack, I have to tell you about the 3 Joe Abercrombie books that I bought. I got the box set. These covers are so pretty. And this is the Shattered Sea trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. This is a YA Viking-inspired series. Each book follows a different POV character, but we're following like the same nations and the same conflicts essentially throughout the entire story. And so our story starts out with a young character named Yarvi, who is next in line for the throne. His father ends up being betrayed and murdered, and so Yarvi becomes king very young. He's also disabled. Because of that, he's really not well respected in his new position, and so this is kind of about him fighting for respect and navigating his way through being what they deem to be half a king because of his disability. I think that there was something so compelling about Yarvi as a character, and even though every book begins to follow a different POV, Yarvi was such an interesting person, and he just really held this story together for me. Like, I loved him so dearly, and he was so interesting and conniving and intelligent. I adored him. He reminded me a lot of Glokta if you have read the first Law trilogy and if you're familiar with that world. He was like a baby Glokta, you know? So anyway, I really enjoyed the first book in the series, so I bought the whole trilogy. I have since read them all. The first book is the strongest in my opinion, but yeah, I purchased them, I read them. Joe Abercrombie is a very talented writer who does very interesting things, but I think I prefer his adult work. Speaking of his adult work, I was very kindly sent The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which is his newest book coming out in 2025. This was kindly sent to me by Tor Publishing, so thank you to my family over at Tor. I love you guys so much. So this one is about a character named Brother Diaz who believes that he's getting like appointed this really amazing like holy task, but he actually is not. He ends up being assigned to do some bloody work with a team of thieves and murderers, and he has aims that the synopsis does not fully outline for us. That's why we have to read it, but I have read the first chapter of this and it's just so fun and exciting already, so I'm excited to get into this. Again, thank you so much to Tor for sending it to me. All right, so then I got Odd Spirits. This edition is so gorgeous. Like, the foiling on the cover is just absolutely stunning. So I got this copy of Odd Spirits. This is the prequel to Evocation by S.T. Gibson, which is a really interesting story about magic and mystery and curses, but also there's like a really crazy love triangle throuple thing going on. Very fun, very amazing. I absolutely adored Evocation, one of my favorite books of 2023, and I didn't end up reading the prequel for it because I didn't really know it existed, but it's a story about this married couple named Reese and Moira, and they are kind of entangled with Reese's ex-boyfriend David, and David helps them like excise this ghost that is haunting their house, and that is sort of that's like the backstory that we get for some of the stuff that goes on in Evocation. So I'm very excited to have this really beautiful edition. Like, it's just so pretty and shiny. I'm happy to have it, and I love Evocation so much. So being able to get more of these characters is everything that I want and need in life, and I believe in 2025 the sequel book Ascension is coming out, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more excited. So this book has a really fun cover, and I purchased it pretty much because it has a really fun cover. The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Call and Richard, what's his name? Richard Cadre. This book is about a woman named Julie, lives in New York, and this is sort of about like the magical underbelly of New York. And so she's a witch, she works in like this underground magic scene, and she's a little bit of a mess herself. But I love like urban fantasy, I love secret magical societies and all that good stuff, so I'm excited to get into this one. It seems like it'll be fun, and I've never heard anybody talking about this one, so I'm a little bit scared. I did pick this one up almost solely because the cover was just very cool and neon and kind of creepy looking with this like menacing gaping maw of a mouth, but I still want to read it. I'm still very excited about it. I just won't look up any reviews because I don't want to know if everybody hates it and nobody told me. I had to purchase the sequel and the finale to the Radiant Emperor series. I believe that's what it's called. The first one, She Who Became the Sun, is right here on my shelves, and I read and loved that one about 2 years ago, and I need to reread it so that I can read the sequel slash finale, but I've been putting it off for a million years. But I finally bought it, and now it's time for me to get back into it. But this was a really fun, diverse fantasy. This was a really fun, diverse fantasy, and the main character, Zhu Zhangba, like, she is such a vicious, conniving, wonderful, interesting protagonist, and I just absolutely love everything that she would do to survive and to gain and attain power. Like, I love it. She was such an interesting character, and there are a lot of interesting side characters as well. I'm excited to get back into this world. Very beautifully written. The author, Shelley Parker Chan, is a magician. I'm excited to read more. So yeah. This next book I have to share with you is This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. This is a romantasy book, and it's described as for readers who enjoy legends and lattes and lovers of Shrek. And I consider myself to be the perfect audience for that. I love Shrek. Shrek is my favorite movie probably of all time. Have seen it 1,000,001 times. it's so fun. It's never gets old. It never stops being funny. I love it. This is a story about apparently a group of friends. They once saved like this magical land that they live on, but they have since like disbanded. They're no longer friends, and they end up reuniting for this like royal wedding, and they end up being bestowed with a new quest. It sounds fun, it sounds interesting, it sounds funny. I'm very, very intrigued by the fact that this has been comped to Shrek though. I've never seen a book comped to Shrek. Like, I've never seen that. So maybe that means that'll be really fun and interesting and unique. We'll see. Then I have another romantasy read here. This one is called Sinner's Isle by Angela Montoya. It's like a magical pirates sea set romance fantasy thing. It sounds like it'll be fun. I was having a moment where I was really, really into pirates. So this was an impulse purchase based on my need for pirate romances. So I don't really know too much about this book, but I think it'll be fun. I think I'll have a good time with it. And the cover is very pretty and very colorful. So we stand. I found Middle Game by Seanan McGuire on sale, and all I know about this book is that it's about two twins named Roger and Dodger who have magical powers of some kind, but what I do know is that this is one of Kayla from Books and Lala's favorite books of all time, and I associate this book so closely with her. So I kind of got this on a whim when I saw it on sale, and hopefully it's going to be a banger. I think it will be, because I've never had a bad recommendation from Lala. I think her book taste is so interesting and so singular, but we really like vibrate on the same frequency, especially when it comes to like fantastical reads. So I think I'll really enjoy this one. I'm excited. All right, then we have the Spice Gate. This book is a standalone fantasy about a character who has the ability to like use portals to traverse this magical world and like these 8 different kingdoms that he's a part of. I got this one because one, it's a standalone fantasy. We don't have enough of those being circulated in the fantasy world. Like, stop putting out these million book long series. Just give me a nice compact standalone story. I would love you forever. We need more of them. So I got this kind of just because of that, because I love a story that knows when to end. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of stories don't know when their time is up. So I'm excited to read this and give it a shot. But also, this was blurred by one of my favorite fantasy authors, Shannon Chakraborty. So I love her. Anything that has her stamp of approval is good with me. All right, so then we have Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This needs no introduction. This needs no synopsis. Everybody and their mother knows about the Stormlight Archive series. This was gifted to me by my friend Erin from Booked and Busy. You guys know Erin very well, so shout out to her. She got me this a few months ago at this point, but she got me this as like a gift for me getting my new job, and I really appreciate and love her so much. So I had to give her another shout out for that, because it was just so incredibly sweet of her to do. And now I have to figure out where I'm going to put it, because this book is just ginormous and it's well over 1,000 pages, and I'm just like, I have no idea where I'm going to fit it. I may need to buy another bookshelf. That may just be what needs to happen, because I don't know where I'm going to put all these books. So new bookshelf may have to be ordered tonight, because these books can't just live on the floor. I also got The Final Strife by Sarah Al-Arafi. So The Final Strife is the first book in an African-inspired fantasy trilogy, and I know this has to do with like a caste system that's based on blood and things like that. I've heard a lot of good things about this series. I've also heard that it has queer protagonists. We love seeing queer protagonists in fantasy stories. So I am excited to get into this. And also, this cover is really, really gorgeous and just so striking. I love this blue. So I had to grab a copy once I saw it on the shelves. And I always like to take my time when a new series is coming out, because I want all the books to be out. Because if I enjoy this first book, I want to binge the whole series. I don't want to have to wait 2 or 3 years for the next books to come out. You know what I'm saying? So I took my time waiting to buy this book, because I wanted the whole series to be out, and I believe it is at this point. So you know, I took my time, but I think it'll be worth it, because if I read it and love it, then I could binge it. You know, you get my logic? Yeah. Okay, so then we have this book that was really kindly sent to me by Bramble. This is a romantasy read that is about dragons, and So this is a Roman inspired fantasy romance that involves like dragons, and the dragons are ruling Rome to some extent, and our main protagonist here, she is a witch, and this is about her and like a general falling in love. Shout out to Bramble for sending this to me. I hope it'll be really good. And I have read books by Juliet Krauss in the past that were phenomenal. So alright, so then I have many books that were gifted to me by my friends over at Orbit Books. So they gave me the rest of the books. They gave me the rest of the books in the Bloodsworn trilogy by John Gwynne. So we have The Hunger of the Gods and The Fury of the Gods, which is the finale in this series, I believe. Yeah, this is the finale in the Bloodsworn trilogy that recently came out. It came out in October. And so yeah, they kindly gifted me both of these. And I have the first book, The Shadow of the Gods, over on my shelf over there. So I'm excited to binge this trilogy, and my fingers are crossed that I'm gonna love it. Because everybody loves John Gwynne, and everybody in particular loves this series, and I wanna be on the bandwagon. So we're gonna get into it. I need another like chunky fantasy series to sink my teeth into this winter, and I think we may go with the Bloodsworn trilogy. So I'm excited. All right, I also got The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. This will be the first book of theirs that I'm reading that's not a part of the Expanse series, and I believe I'm on like 5th book, I think, of the Expanse series at this point. So this will be my first time reading a book that is not a part of the Expanse world, but this is a sci-fi story that is about like aliens conquering Earth and what happens with like the last few human inhabitants that the aliens kind of like capture and are holding hostage. So it sounds like it'll be really creepy. I love a good like alien abduction. I think it's very interesting. And I also like that the aliens are going to be a little bit more like personified in this, because in the Expanse series the aliens exist, but we don't actually in that series have like true contact with the aliens. It's more so contact with technology that the aliens have like placed around the universe many years ago. So it's like, it'll be interesting to see how James S.A. Corey writes about alien life forms. You know, I'm excited. I think it'll be a good time. And one of my friends, Jen, over at Everything She Reads on Instagram, she really loved this, but this was one of her favorite books of the year. So fingers crossed I'm gonna love it as much as she did. And the last fantasy book I have to share is The Gods Below. So yeah, this is a story about like gods that are warring with each other, which sounds so exciting. Like, I think a lot of times fantasy stories create like a mythological system or like a theological system where the characters believe in certain gods and blah 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 blah, but it's not that often that you get to see stories where the gods themselves are warring with each other. So I'm fascinated by how that's going to play out in this series, and I enjoyed the books that I've read in the Bone Shard Daughter series, so hopefully this will be a good one. All right, gals, this is the last stack, and then I will set you all free. So I may have shared these books with you guys already, I can't really remember, but I did get myself a copy of Bones and All by Camille DeAngelis, and I also got Poor Things by Alistair Gray. And these are two books, these are books that were adapted to screen, and I did watch Bones and All this year, and I also watched Poor Things this year. They were like some of the first films that I watched this year, and they both had like a really strong impact on me, so I wanted to read the source material, so I ended up grabbing them. And I also think that they're some of the only books that I have ever seen where they have like the movie poster or like the movie tie-in cover, and the movie tie-in cover is actually really good, because I think that this cover is way better than the original cover for Bones and All. And I think this like really interesting sort of creepy picture of Emma Stone is fantastic. So maybe that's just me, but this might be the only time that a movie tie-in cover has slayed. I don't know. What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. The publishers gifted me with a copy of Paris Hilton's memoir, so you know, shout out to them for that. We'll give this a shot. I'm not too familiar with Paris Hilton's game, so it'll be interesting to see something about her life other than the fact that she kind of invented low-waist jeans in a way, you know. But yeah, I can't say I know too much about her. So we'll see. I'll read the memoir and find out. Another memoir that I got recently was Know My Name by Chanel Miller, and this is a book that I have had on my radar for a really long time, and I think this is a really powerful story that needs to be told and shared as far and wide as it can. So I definitely want to read this as soon as possible. And yeah, I picked this up at my local thrift, and it'll be what it's going to be. I have to read it when I'm in the right mental headspace, but I definitely will read it soon. Okay, and so the last nonfiction book that I got was A Little Devil in America. I love Hanif Abdurraqib's essays. I just think that he's such an effective writer. And my dog is barking, so if you can hear her in the background, I'm sorry. But I think that Hanif is just such an effective writer, and so I definitely wanted to read more of his essays. And this is a collection of essays on like Black media and Black art in general, and so I'm really excited to see what he has to say on this subject. I think it's going to be great, especially because I enjoy the previous work I've read by him, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, I have The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. This is a classic, a modern classic, but a classic nonetheless, and I got this for my book club. I'm in a book club. We meet every month, and we were supposed to read this and didn't, but that's okay. I'll read it at some point. But yeah, I didn't read it. I didn't make it to that book club meeting. It is what it is, but I purchased it for my book club. I don't think that it's a book that I would typically be interested in. It's about like a con man, and he's conning this rich guy for, you know, reasons, for stuff and things, for his money, for jealousy. Also, there's some queer longing involved. It is a queer book club, so it's about, you know, mostly stories that have at least some homoerotic undertones or overtones in them. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not exactly like 100% my tea, but I will give it a shot at some point because I own it. Okay, something a little bit more my speed, which is a little bit blasphemous, but also very exciting to me, is The Vinter's Luck by Elizabeth Knox. This is a book that I've had on my radar for like a decade, and I happened to go to this like book like truck sale, so it was just literally in the back of somebody's pickup truck. They had all these books and they were just selling them, and so I went and I found this book, and it was like, what are the chances that I've had this book on my radar, on my Goodreads for like 10 years, and I finally find it? I don't know. I was just like, it was fate, so I had to pick it up. This is a story about a character who has a guardian angel, and him and his guardian angel start falling in love, but it takes place over a very long portion of time, and it's like very gritty, very angsty, but also magical and blasphemous, and I'm excited to read it. I think it's going to be so good. So I ended up grabbing this, and I'm very happy with this purchase. Alright, so then I have Death in Her Hands by Altesha Moshfegh. This is a very interesting, provocative, controversial author whose work I have not read yet, but I was at, again, my local thrift store, and I happened to be, you know, strolling through the shelves, and I saw this one, and I believe this is about an elderly woman who finds this note that is about like a woman who died, and she's sort of looking into what happened to her. She kind of gets involved in this like web of solving the mystery. But yeah, I think that it'll be interesting to give this book a shot, especially because the work that I've heard people talking about the most from this author is My Year of Rest and Relaxation, or her more recent novel, Lapvona, I think it's called, or Lapvona, something like that, where people were talking very badly about that book. So I don't know, I thought I would pick a more neutral pick, one that's less hyped, but still, you know, her work, so I could give it a shot and create my own opinion on her as an author, you know? I also have been trying to read more like translated fiction, so I ended up picking up Mieko Kawakami's Breast and Eggs. And do I know what this book is about? No, but I've seen a lot of people, a lot of cool, talented, intellectual baddies reading this on Instagram, and if I want to be a cool, talented, intellectual baddie, I also have to read it, obviously. So easily influenced, but I picked it up. Hopefully it'll be good. Okay, so I picked up Breath, Eyes, Memory by Edwidge Dandakat because I've been wanting to read more books by Caribbean authors. So I just picked this up also at that truck sale that I mentioned, and it was just an author whose name I recognized. She is an award-winning author, highly acclaimed, and so I just decided that this would be a good chance for me to check out her work. I also picked up at this truck sale Home Fire by Camilla Shamsi, and this is a book that was really popular on Bookstagram like a few years ago. all I really know about this is that it's about this like older sister who's kind of trying to hold her family together. She's very protective of them, but she's trying to branch out on her own and follow this really cool opportunity that she's gotten out of the country. And so yeah, it's about like family, about family loyalty and what you owe to your family system and how much you're willing to sacrifice to take care of them. So I'm interested to read this, especially as an older sister myself. I think it'll be a good like emotional read, so I'm excited to get into it. All right, so then I have When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. This is a historical sapphic literary fiction story. It's set in like 19th century Montreal, and it's about these two girls who are in like a crazy entanglement, and they're very obsessed with each other, and their relationship is very sick and very sinister, and they're separated by their parents, but there's a lot of depravity and craziness going on in that relationship, and I'm excited. It sounds very messy and very exciting and very enticing, and I love historical fiction, so I am excited to read this book. I think it's gonna be a banger. I love all queer fiction, but I especially love queer historical fiction. It's just always going to slap for me, so I'm very excited to get into this. So I also picked up this book, Less, by Andrew Sean Greer, which is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and it was also recommended to me by one of my previous college professors. I was having a conversation with him, like we were emailing, and he recommended this book to me. So I picked it up when I saw it at the truck sale I went to, and I don't really know much about it other than that it is very acclaimed and many people have read it. And I think it's about a character who's going through like a midlife crisis of some sort, so we're gonna see how it goes. Also, Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi is one of the books that I mentioned in my mid-year freakout tag, where I was saying that I need to read this book before the end of the year, and I still do. I started it, I'm somewhere in the first chapter, but I feel so intimidated by reading this book because everybody I know like had a very strong, mostly negative reaction to it, and they talk about it being like really triggering and traumatic in some way, and that scares me. I'm intimidated. So if you have read this book, please let me know your thoughts. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it triggering? Was it deeply traumatic? Like, you don't have to give me spoilers for it, but I want to know what kind of mindset I need to go into this book with. So like, let me know so I can stop being afraid of it and I could just conquer my fear and keep reading it. Let me know. All right, and the final book in our haul, it only took us about 59 million years, but the final book in our haul is Disorientation. Yeah, so this is a story about a young grad student who is struggling through her program, and she ends up stumbling upon like some research that has huge implications for academia and the institution that she's working at. And I believe this is supposed to be a kind of like satirical novel, but it's poking fun at academia and institutional racism and all of the various things of privilege and power within like the academic institution. So I am excited to get into it. I love critiques of academia in all forms, so I think I'm gonna really enjoy this one. That is the end of my very, very extensive haul. Please stop me. If you see me in a bookstore, stop me. Hold me back. Physically restrain me if you must, because there's absolutely no room in my house for any more books. Huge shout out to Anna Luisa for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out their Black Friday sale. The link is in the description below. This is one of their biggest sales of the year. So if you want to get yourself a treat this holiday season, or if you're still shopping for your loved ones, this is the perfect time to do it. Check them out in the link in my description. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Bye, you guys. Mwah.